What's up, YouTube? It's been a minute since I've been on, but I just wanted to touch on this topic that has been brought up on a few occasions. I had a few conversations about it, and that is whether or not black men are still protectors, and not just of the family. When I say that, I mean of the community, period. As a lot of you may know, back in the days, black men were very much the protectors of their family and their communities. And actually, this has been their role perhaps since, I don't know, antiquity. Look, at one time, black men would throw down for their families. Their families to them were everything. And not only did they have to protect their family when we were in more hostile times, but they took the time with their children to bring the culture of himself or the father to the family. The family shared his image. Now I know, due to feminism and its effect on the black community, these concepts are different. With this push to feminize the black community and to make it a matriarchy, the certain concepts they couldn't pass on. For example, when I was young and I saw I still seen the semblance of the fathers being in a household and raising the kids. I seen the ending of that. We had this thing where you didn't embarrass the family name. We had this thing where you removed your hat when you enter into a store. He might hit you with his elbow, take your hat off when you come into someone's home. The mother, her tendency isn't to carry that sort of thing with her. That's not what she's about. So my point to saying that is that there's characteristics with the male and there's characteristics with the female. With black men being protectors, the protector alone, there are also characteristics that come along with being a protector. One of them being that you don't care what other people think, really. Like if you were to think back to your great-grandfather or even your grandfather perhaps, depending on how old you are, you might remember how he would be considered awkward when you compared him to the current generation. And what I mean by that is that he might talk about lifestyles like homosexuality, or he may even generalize, which is also a masculine thing. And it's gonna ruffle some feathers. Absolutely it is. So by him being that way, whether it was Christmas or Thanksgiving and everybody was around a grandfather, he elicited this kind of effect where it's like, oh no, he's going to be talking this or that, and he's going to be old school. You kind of stayed away because you wanted to bring in your new school stuff, because when you're young, you think you know everything. So your nature is a lot more progressive. And I've said before on other videos or perhaps on blogs, the feminine principle of female nature, rather, is progressive, more so than male or masculine. So with that, she's open to all kinds of new ideas, or what's behind door number 2, as I like to say. She's open to change, because when it comes to routine or tradition, it's mundane. It's even considered boring. But with the feminine, it's change, what's behind door number 2, that's excitement. And a lot of times, even when it comes to picking a man, that's what a young woman will pick. She'll pick that dude, but that dude is unstable. So he's not going to be the marriage type dude, but she'll pick him 9 times out of 10 because he's exciting. But anyway, that brings me back as to why fathers probably, the men of the past who are wise, they probably had the father designate who would be the husband, because when she's young, she'll choose excitement or chaos, which is the same thing. Like I said, more times than not, that's what's likely. Anyway, with men being the protector, they don't care about being favored by people. They don't care about saying something that everyone doesn't agree with, because truth comes first. what they believe, their values, and their principles, they stand on that first. Actually, those are the things that make up what a man is. There's no such thing as, oh, I'm a woman of my word. That's not part of the feminine principle. Her principles are more external, so it's about appearance or how something sounds, or, to be a lady, you may have tact, so you know how to, let's say back in the days, she could prepare a meal, she knew how to set a table with a certain forks went, like all that is stuff that's surface, it's not really internal. Everything of the man is internal, and that's what this was a part of, and that's what a protector had within him. Also, with a protector, he has kind of like a bird's eye view or insight as to what may not appear dangerous on the onset, but may be dangerous later on. So for instance, right now we see a phenomenon in the black community where black women gravitate to gay people. They gravitate to that. They gravitate to the transgender community. And they even, a lot of black women, you can look it up, a lot of black women work for Planned Parenthood. A lot of black women have sister companies that are affiliates with Planned Parenthood. This sort of thing. So it's kind of ironic that, Margaret Sanger, who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, spoke, against people who had, let's say, not so favorable traits, because she was a eugenicist. So she believes that only, I'm not going to say recessive traits, but desirable traits, whatever defines that, she believed that those need to be preserved, and the people who are the undesirables need to be eliminated. Now, I don't know whether or not black people believe that they're not the undesirables, but if that's not the case and they think that they are the desirables, why would you be working for Planned Parenthood? And why would Planned Parenthood be performing over 1,200 abortions a day? We've been at 12% of the population, 13% for a few decades now. So, that tells you something, particularly if we're eliminating that many babies daily. So to answer that question, whether the black community, the men within the black community, whether we're still protectors, I'd say we're not. I'd say that we already absorbed a lot of feminine energy, and a lot of black men are protecting this growth that we have already of feminine energy within the black community. They're supporting it, and believe you me, I'm down with equality, and I'm down with women. If they work a certain amount of hours and just as hard and they have the same experience, they should get paid just the same as a man. However, I don't see that within this movement. I see favoritism. It's quite obvious. Just look at Marvel movies, how they trying to take out all the male heroes and put in female heroes. And all kinds of TV shows, you constantly see it where they're kind of forcing females to play these roles that they one time considered toxic masculine. But it's not so bad when she plays it, I guess. But it goes beyond that, to be honest with you. If you've seen the Gillette commercial, it's a bunch of campaigns against masculinity. But particularly in the black community, being that the black man at one time was so strong, and I dare to say that he was probably one of the most faithful, strongest men in America with integrity, particularly during the civil rights movement in the era of segregation and Jim Crow. He still was unshakable during that time until LBJ, his Great Society programs. That's something to be admired, and a lot of people admired him for that as well. A lot of people across the world admired black people. Of course, they're not going to say so. The lamestream media isn't going to say so, but you can tell from reading articles, even from things changing. Things wouldn't have changed if a bevy of white people didn't want them to. And I would dare to say, even in earlier times, when you see you hear about the ending of slavery or the abolition of slavery, and even when people were getting hung, I would still say the majority of white people didn't want those things to happen. You see a picture of white men standing around a tree and a black man hanging, you think, oh, these are all white people. Or you see somebody in a diner and they get water splashed in their face by a white person and they're still sitting there at the diner counter. All white people are like this. I highly doubt that. I would say that the majority of them weren't like that. But the funny thing is about the black community, those same white people that would stand around that tree while that black man was hanging, ironically, it appears like those people are the ones who used the programming that they were under, or their understandings, to program black people currently now, because they have pretty much the same understandings as those people, where they put emphasis on color. Because I don't think most white people put emphasis on color like that. More so emphasis on what's wrong or what's right. And they'll quickly distance themselves from a person who does wrong. They won't do a George Floyd or a Jacob Blake thing that we do, where we just stick together because of race. That's foolishness. And that's also not part of the masculine principle, which is again about integrity and honor. Women don't carry those things, so as the black community becomes more feminized, we place more emphasis on these things, skin color and stuff like that. And white people do it too, which is a saying that we picked up later on. We didn't have that saying earlier on. You never heard black people talking about, oh, white people do it too, when the father was running the household. That's a new phenomenon. I'm not trying to put everything on the mother, but I guess I'm making a case that there was a reason why in scriptures and in all ancient writings, they always talk about men being the heads or the leaders. Because when you're the vessel of emotion, other things are going to guide your thinking. And it may not be the right things necessarily, or qualities of leadership or protector qualities, again, which give you the bird's eye view as to what's wrong and what's right. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off right here. Hopefully the lighting was good. If you enjoyed what you heard, subscribe. I don't even know where the camera lens is on this thing. Oh, there it is. So if you like what you heard and watched, subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you next time.